Welcome again, everybody. For those who just joined, this is the Sciences at Oberlin webinar. I'm sure it's one you've been waiting for many weeks now. We're very excited that you're joining us. And to get things started, just so you know who I am, my name is Jess Cummings. I'm one of the Associate Directors of Admission, and I'm here to just moderate our panel today. We do have 5 panelists who we will soon be introducing you to, all of whom are current seniors at Oberlin who pursue science majors, and all of them are also significantly involved with science research on campus. So we'll be hearing about what that has been like for them, and they will speak in depth about their personal experiences as an Oberlin student. Before we do turn it over to introductions, I'm going to just show about a 4-minute long video. This video is a tour of our science facilities. You may have seen it. It's a pretty recent video we launched just a few weeks ago, but just in case you haven't, it gives a really good overview just of sort of what sciences look like at Oberlin if you were able to visit campus. And so we'll start with that. And then from there, we will jump into the introductions of panelists. So let me just make sure I share my screen correctly. Okay.
Oberlin is a fantastic place to pursue an undergraduate education in STEM and offers 11 majors within the natural science and mathematics disciplines.
Built in 2001, Oberlin Science Center serves as the heart of science education and is accessible to all members of the college community.
Oberlin Science Center joins together 4 structures which link the departments of biology, chemistry and biochemistry, neuroscience, and the Wilbur and Orville Wright Laboratory of Physics. The Science Center incorporates technology into nearly every classroom and laboratory and contains ample research lab space for faculty to use for collaborative projects, including Oberlin students. Classrooms accommodate traditional lecture instruction and small group work, while labs allow for new pursuits in science, such as a laser lab for chemistry, a cell culture room for biology, and an electrophysiology suite for neuroscience. With more than 25 currently active research grants providing $5.25 million in support for faculty and student research, our students have ample opportunities to engage in significant research experience that can include access to Oberlin's state-of-the-art equipment like a 64-node supercomputer, a confocal microscope that displays 3D images of cells, a cell culture lab, 2 NMR spectrometers, and our greenhouse.
The Science Center complex also includes a spacious science library with materials devoted to the sciences,
including more than 110,000 volumes and spaces for both group and quiet study. Students love to study and socialize in either the science library, Perlit Commons area, or other lounge areas in the Science Center. Since the Science Center contains 3 of the college's largest lecture halls, it is often where guest lectures and campus-wide forums take place.
Our geology department's classrooms, labs, and offices are housed just across the street in the Carnegie Building.
Notably, Oberlin's geology researchers have access to our own scanning electron microscope, which is used to image fine detail on a variety of materials including minerals, microfossils, semiconductors, plankton, pollen, and synthetic crystals.
One of Oberlin's most iconic buildings, located in the central part of campus, is Peters Hall.
While Peters is known for housing language departments, it also has an observatory that features a telescope with a 14-inch aperture for viewing comets, stars, planets, and other astronomical phenomena. The observatory is open to the public on the 1st and 3rd Fridays of the month after sunset during the academic year. In addition, a small teaching planetarium projects the 1,000 brightest stars and planets onto a dome 4 meters in diameter.
The Adam Joseph Lewis Center has received national acclaim as a showcase for green building technologies and operating systems.
Since completion of its construction around the turn of the 21st century, the AJLC has proven to be a hands-on laboratory for students studying principles of ecological design. Photovoltaic panels on the center's roof and parking pavilion capture renewable energy from the sun, and south-facing windows allow for passive solar heating. Indoors, a specially engineered wetland called the Living Machine purifies non-potable wastewater for reuse in toilets and the landscape, and provides excellent opportunities for Oberlin College students and the community to explore issues of wastewater, wetland, ecology, microbiology, and plant dynamics.
Energy orbs around campus make basic electricity use information visible to residents by translating a building's current consumption level into a spectrum of colors.
The glowing colors display how much a building is consuming at that moment relative to what it normally consumes at that time of day. The premise behind the AGLC's extensive data monitoring system is that real-time feedback on ecological performance increases awareness, connectedness, and motivation to act on the part of both building occupants and facilities managers.
Oberlin is a small college that offers extraordinary science programs and unparalleled opportunities for undergraduate research.
All right, so I'm going to now ask our panelists to introduce themselves to you. And while they do that, I'm also going to share just some photos that they shared with me to help sort of bring their research to life as they explain their research on campus. So let me share my screen once again to do that. Okay, and so we're first gonna hear from Tori, and so we're gonna ask our panelists just to share a little bit about where they're from, what they study, in terms of majors and minors, some of the activities they might be involved in outside of academics, and then just an overview of the research that they're doing, as well as an explanation of the photos here. Thanks, Tori.
Hi, everyone. I'm Tori. I'm a fourth year here. I use she, her, hers. I am a neuroscience and biology double major, chemistry minor. Outside of academics, I am involved with the CLEAR Center on campus, which just provides like supplemental support for science courses. I also am the editor-in-chief of our science magazine on campus. Definitely recommend looking up the Synapse at Oberlin. It's a pretty cool magazine. I'm not biased at all. And then in addition to that, I also do research with Professor Leslie Kwache, who you can see in the middle here. And so our research focuses on sensory perceptions, specifically how we integrate information across different senses. So what you can see right here is actually me at two different conferences that I have been able to attend at Oberlin. So on the I'm not sure if it would be your left or your right, but you can see me with a poster that was in my second year, right when we were starting the research. And so this is actually displaying sort of like temporal processing. So if I present like two different things, can you tell that they were like presented at different times, or can't you? And then on the right is actually at Society for Neuroscience, which is like this huge conference. Where like everyone from like undergrads to people far into their research career get to present. And I was presenting on very similar information then, but we started looking more at like speech stimuli. So like right now, my lips are moving and a voice is coming out. And so in order to understand that, you combine that information. And so we want to see how attention, like if I draw your attention away from that, are you still going to integrate that information? And so you can see the poster for that also on the next slide as well. Yeah, so somewhat similar, but we adapted what we were doing since when we ran the first experiment, it didn't quite work out as well as we wanted to. So we had to change some of the ways that we were distracting people away. And unfortunately, you can't really see the like day-to-day work. It's not very interesting. It's mostly lines of code and like a person's face on a screen. But yeah, so that's sort of a summary of like the research that I do. Yeah, I don't know if there's anything else I should add on to that.
Can I actually just ask you all to also share what you're doing after graduation, since that's right around the corner?
Yeah, perfect. So after I graduate, I'll actually be going on to Yale to do research there, still in sensory research, but working with schizophrenia, people who have schizophrenia. So similar, but a little bit different.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Tori. Can I ask Gabby to introduce himself next?
Yeah, hi. My name is Gaurav. I usually go by Gabi on campus. I use the pronoun he, him, his. I'm from Kathmandu, Nepal, so an international student. What else? Oh yeah. Yeah, I am a computer science and mathematics major. And outside of just doing research on campus, I am a Bonner Scholar, which basically means tons and tons of service work around Oberlin. I love it. You get to meet a lot of people. I'm also a resident assistant, which basically means I work for the school in school's res ed office in their dorms. And speaking a little bit just about my research and the picture you're saying, I didn't have more pictures because, well, computer science research basically happens anywhere I have my computer, access to the internet. I just log in to our servers. We've got multiple servers with lots of GPUs, and I just log in and conduct my research anywhere on the go. But this is a poster for the Office of Undergraduate Research, my second year's summer, where I worked with neural networks to train them to identify emotions in people's faces. This is what the poster from that. I was pretty good in that, but since then I've pivoted my research a little bit and gone more towards classical artificial intelligence, go into much detail about what that means, but it's just AI and a bunch of decision theoretic stuff. But yes, I work a fair bit in machine learning, artificial intelligence, and some dabbling in neural networks. I think that's about it, I guess.
Awesome. And what are you going to do after graduation?
Oh, yes. I am going to pursue a doctoral degree in computer science.
Great.
Yes, at George Mason University.
Congrats. Okay, next we have Olivia.
Hello, my name is Olivia Smith. I use she, hers. I'm from Maplewood, New Jersey, and I graduate in 2021, so in a few weeks, actually. I'm a biology major, and I'm a religion minor. A few of my other interests on campus besides research is I'm on the women's varsity track and field team and the varsity soccer team here. I'm part of the Black student athlete group, and then I'm also a chemistry TA. And for 2 summers, I've been a part of the Oberlin College Research Fellowship, where I've been able to do field research with Dr. Roger Loshman. So through the biology department, I have been able to go out and do field work. So in Chance Creek, it is a nature preserve that the college has a relationship with, and we have established research plots. So a lot of students can go out and do field work and have this long history of what's been happening in this forest for the last 50 years. So I work with invasive species, Rosa multiflora, which is an invasive rose, and I'm looking at novel removal techniques to eliminate them from the preserve. So I do get to go out in the summer and in the winter and see what is happening within the preserve and having this really hands-on experience. And in the fall, I will be attending the College of William and Mary to get my master's in biology.
Awesome. And what does TA stand for, Olivia? I just want to make sure everybody knows what that is.
So I'm a teaching assistant. So I am in the chemistry labs helping other students. So a really close relationship. There is also a professor, but I will help with any and all experiments. So I will be refilling chemicals. I will be helping with calculations. It's a great time.
Wonderful. All right. So next we have Rochelle.
Hi, my name is Rochelle Van Der Merva. I am a senior neuroscience student. I also study in the English department. I am from Minnesota originally. And some of the things I'm involved on and on campus besides research are I also work for the CLEAR Center with Tori, so provide supplemental instruction for STEM classes outside of structured lecture time with the professors. I'm also a chemistry teaching assistant, and I also work for the Synapse magazine with Tori. Besides that, I'm also part of the Neuroscience Majors Departmental Association, and I'm involved with some musical groups on campus, my favorite of which is a group that is involved with community members. We're a choir, and we have a bunch of students who aren't part of the conservatory generally who are in the choir, and then also local community members, which is a really good time. But what I'm most heavily involved in is my research on campus. I did actually start out in Professor Kwache's lab with Tori, looking at the effect of musical experience on multisensory integration. But I have since transitioned, and I'm now working with a different professor. I work with Professor Christopher Howard, who's also in the neuroscience department, but we use optogenetics, which is a really cool technique where you can basically control neuron activity using laser light. And so we implant these fiber optics into mouse brains that we can hook up to lasers in order to control their activity. And so right now I'm sort of working on two major projects. This is an optogenetics chamber. So my two primary projects are looking at how different parts of the striatum are involved in habit formation. So this is a picture of the transgenic mouse models that we use. So we cross mice with different genes together in order to produce an animal that will selectively be able to activate particular neurons in particular brain regions. And so I'm looking at habit formation. I am ultimately really interested in neurodegenerative research and translational medicine. This is a picture of me trying to put it all together and come up with the root of calcium derangement in Parkinson's disease. So this is a photo from a class that I'm taking currently, and have been collaborating a bit with that professor as well in my personal research. And based on where I'm at in the project right now, this is my lab squad. We're very close, and we have a great time both doing research together and also outside of doing research together. So much so that I'm actually staying on for another year as a research assistant in the neuroscience department. I'm getting to the end of my project, and so I want to finish that before I leave Oberlin. And after that point, I will be working at the NIH for 2 years, and then hoping to pursue a doctoral degree after that. I have a random smattering of pictures of various things. This is some mouse brains in that dish. We put them on slides, and then we look at them under a microscope where we can illuminate different parts of the brain using different dyes that we wash the brain slices with. This is an electrophysiology machine. I first started doing research with electrophysiology, and so I was looking at how extracellular nitrate concentration affects excitotoxicity, and I was using a crayfish model here. So yes, the rest of the pictures, this is a crayfish. And this is, I also have spent a couple of summers developing bioluminescent molecules that can be used as optogenetics markers. So instead of breeding mice that have a completely foreign form of luminescence, using bioluminescence and being able to have that be the activating factor in mice brains. I believe that's all of my pictures.
Perfect. And finally, we have Roberto.
Hi, my name is Roberto. I use he, him pronouns, and I am a fourth year biology major, chemistry minor here at Oberlin. I am also an honors research student. And outside of research, I am a co-chair for the Oberlin Biology Majors Committee. And as co-chair for the Bio Majors Committee, I'm kind of the middle person between the faculty and the bio majors. So I kind of bring the concerns of bio majors up to the faculty, up to the staff of the biology department. But I also kind of serve as the middle person to relay things between the two. I sit on staff meetings, and I basically voice the concerns and voice the interests of the bio majors at Oberlin. I have also been a part of multiple Baroque ensembles in the conservatory, so that has been a big part of my experience here at Oberlin. So as far as research, I worked with Dr. Marta Laskowski, and we work on studying root growth in plants and the genetic regulation that goes into how roots grow. So this first picture here you see is how we grow our plants. Most of our plants, we grow them on gel plates, and we typically grow them for a week or so. And my project specifically looks at microRNAs and how they interact with transcription factors and how this affects how roots grow. So here, sometimes we have some lines of plants that we insert a genetic construct into them, and that allows us to visualize genetic activity because, well, genes, DNA molecules, we can't really see it, but if we can make it so we can see it, we can do it like this, where we have a specific molecule that turns blue when we introduce it into the root. And so here we see that genetic activity. So the darker the stain, the higher the level of genetic activity. And so post Oberlin, I will be attending UC San Diego in the fall to pursue a PhD in biological sciences.
Thank you all so much. So we do have a few questions already from the audience we can ask right away. The first one was actually just wanting to know more about neuroscience because Oberlin is well known for its program. It's the oldest one at the undergraduate level in the country. And so just generally, would Tori and or Rochelle be able to just talk a little bit about maybe what you think makes the program so great at Oberlin and maybe what it's like to be a neuroscience major?
Sure. Yeah, I'd be happy to jump in and then I'll pass it off to Tori. I came to Oberlin not thinking I wanted to study neuroscience. In fact, not thinking I wanted to study anything science related. And I sort of joked around with my parents that the cool thing about a liberal arts education was that I could do something as outlandish as switch and study neuroscience. And it was just sort of a running joke. And now here I am. And I've had the most wonderful experience with the neuroscience department here. The major is set up so that you have sort of your core prerequisites, which include other intro science courses in the biology department and the chemistry department. And then you also have credits that you take that fulfill both a systems side of neuroscience, so that includes things like cognition and sensory neuroscience, and then also a cellular and molecular side of things, so like neurophysiology and neuropharmacology. And with all of those classes, you also have an intensive lab experience. That's a separate course, but it's associated with the class and taught by the same professor. And there are usually like 8 to 10 students in those labs, which is great. And so you have a really intensive lab experience throughout the course of the semester on top of the lecture experience. And a lot of students end up doing independent research with a professor that they've taken a class with and get really involved in the research that way. And then there's also a lot of flexibility on top of sort of these core classes to pursue other interests within the department and outside of the department. There are a bunch of different offerings in the neuroscience department, which is really great. And the professors are fabulous. Like I said, the small class sizes really allow for a personal connection with the professors and to really be able to take advantage of the really cutting edge research that's happening at Oberlin and the really cool techniques that we're able to do here. And I've been so fortunate to be able to do research on campus. I'm so grateful for that experience, and especially because of the relationship I have with my mentor. I can message him at 11:30 and say, oh, I thought of this cool idea for an experiment, and he'll get back to me. Well, here are 7 papers that you should read. We'll discuss tomorrow. So it's a really, really nice community, and the faculty is great, and the students are really supportive. So I can't speak highly enough of the neuro department, which is part of the reason why I'm staying for another year, and I'm going to join the staff in the neuroscience department. I'll pass it over to Tori.
Yeah, I want to echo pretty much everything that Rochelle said. I think that, I have worked with my research advisor since I was a second year, and I love the fact that she really encourages me to be independent in the research that I do, to explore different avenues, but she's also there as this incredible support system for academic things, for things that sort of fall between academics and personal, and all of that. And I think one thing that makes the neuroscience, major at Oberlin so wonderful is that sense of community that you have with your peers and also with the professors, as Rochelle was talking about, at like other institutions, you're barely ever going to see the primary investigator within your lab. But at Oberlin, it's more just like you're with them like every week. You have lab meetings and you're very directly involved with it. And so it shows too, like when in my lab that I'm going to after Yale, I mean, the PI there even calls me like this multisensory expert in the lab. And so you really gain a lot of hands-on experience and understanding that I just feel like isn't there at other places because of that direct relationship you have with everything. Yeah.
Wonderful. So Oberlin is well known for being a school that really integrates the arts and the sciences very well. I'm wondering if any of you have examples or experiences with sort of integrating the arts and the sciences in your research, or know of other research labs that are doing just that. And if you could talk about the interdisciplinary opportunities.
Sure, I can talk to that as well, because I originally came to Oberlin thinking that I wanted to pursue oboe performance, and so like I mentioned, the lab that I started doing research in was Professor Kwache's lab with Tori, and so I was looking at how musical experience affects multisensory integration, and that was a really neat way to be able to tie those two things together. And Professor Kwache, who's also the in psychology. And so they're, I think, pretty far along in the development of that concentration, which is super exciting because we do have a lot of people who are interested in both, and a lot of neuroscience majors who are also dance performance majors or piano performance majors. And so our students in both the conservatory and the neuroscience department or other science departments. And so the school is currently working on really exciting things to more formally be able to bridge those two. And also, in terms of doing independent research, students really do have the flexibility to pursue a project that's interdisciplinary on their own terms. And going forward, there will be more structure. I think at this point we have a first year seminar and some non-majors neuroscience courses that look at music and neuroscience, but I think it's going to be integrated in sort of a more structured, formalized way going forward.
Also, to extend on what Rochelle was saying, all the professors here are very willing and able to work with other professors. So if you do, let's say, have a biology professor, but you do also want to incorporate, I'll say religion just because I'm biased, as long as you email them both, I'm almost positive that they're going to be okay to work with each other. So it's really at your prerogative what you want to do. Everyone's going to support you when it comes to research.
Awesome. So we did have a question about how you become a teaching assistant for a course, and maybe more broadly, just how you maybe become a tutor or an OWL, which is another program, if any of you have familiarity with those programs and how you get involved.
Sure. I can cover the sort of like owling side of things. So I work with the Clear Center. We've mentioned a little bit. Basically, it provides like support for some of those like introductory STEM courses. And so we have like owling. It's called Oberlin Workshop Leader. And basically their role is just to sort of, facilitate like these large like study groups. Working directly with students to sort of work on problems from the class, discuss those topics that are difficult to, I guess, grasp initially. And so the way you get involved with that is literally just applying. We send out applications for every semester, and professors will oftentimes also recommend people. And so when you fill it out, you just say like what courses that you would be interested in supporting, and you get involved with the sort of owling community. There's also QS tutoring as well that's offered through the Clear department. And so with that, it's a little less like directly involved with a specific class. Like you're not just supporting like Bio 100 or like introductory chemistry. You're more sort of like a catch-all effect, helping students with sort of like quantitative skills, like plotting things on a graph, using Excel, and like RStudio and things like that. got to do statistics. And again, same process, you apply, you show us your sort of like expertise in those areas. And yeah, and highly recommend joining the Clear Center. It's wonderful. And I feel like we have a really good community within the people who work there as well.
Awesome. Go ahead.
I can speak a bit about tutoring, since I have been a tutor. So I am a tutor. Actually, I've tutored quite a few courses. So tutoring is free to all students. All you have to do is simply go to our Center for Student Success and request a tutor for a specific course. And so I myself have tutored some intro chemistry, but I also have tutored some 200 level bio courses. And so as a tutor, we don't necessarily, we're there to help students become independent learners. So as a tutor, we're instructed not necessarily to give the students the answers to help them through a specific problem, but help them think through problems. So the goal of the tutoring program is to kind of wean students off of tutoring. It's that they come and they request a tutor, the tutor helps them, but the goal is to eventually for them not to need a tutor.
Great. So really quick question for the biology majors. What do you know about studying marine biology as an Oberlin student, and what students can do with that?
Yeah, I can take this one. So this semester, or in the last few semesters, marine physiology has been offered, which is an amazing class. It is an upper level bio class, so that means you do have to take all of the intro levels, so 100, 200, and 213 to get to those upper level electives, but it is present. I also have taken invertebrate ecology, so obviously we were dealing with all of the phylum, so we were engaged with your mollusks, with your jellyfish, your sea stars, all of them. So there are opportunities to dive into that area, but also we do have this term called winter term or J term because it takes place in January, and that's when you could have opportunities through other means to go out if you want like field research within marine physiology, and that you could apply through different means.
One more quick question for Olivia is just how you balance science as an athlete and what that looks like for you.
Yeah, so it's all about time management. So I will have classes all morning, labs all afternoon, and I actually just came from practice. But what's really helpful is the community that you get from that. My coaches are 110% understand that school does come first for me. So if I do have a lab, if a lab is running late, they're going to be like, don't worry, come to practice late, don't worry about it. Or if I have to go to a study session, it's going to be okay for me to skip some soccer or skip track. So they're on my side. And it's just like really heartwarming when my like research professor will come out to my games and cheer me on. So it is this balance. It takes a lot of work, but it's about doing what you really love. So I choose to play soccer because I really do love it. And I also choose to do research because that's what I'm passionate about. So you do have the time in your day, but it's a long day, but it's fun.
This is sort of a question for anybody who would like to respond. So how did you build your first semester as a student at Oberlin? Were you already sort of on this track to become the major that you have now, or did you sort of explore a lot early on? What did that look like?
I can speak to that because I had a interesting experience. I actually came to Oberlin the summer before my first year at Oberlin. Oberlin at that time, and I think it still does, but I think it's changed a little bit, had a program called Strong, which stands for Summer Technology Research Opportunities for a New Generation. And it's a program designed for people who come from underrepresented backgrounds in STEM. And it provides an opportunity to arrive at Oberlin the summer before your first year and do research with a professor on campus. So I was invited via that program to come onto campus, and I did research in a analytical chemistry lab. And I basically had an entire month before almost everyone else. So by the time the school year started, I was sort of acclimated to just Oberlin itself. But before that, I knew I wanted to do STEM research. but at that time I was kind of going back and forth between chemistry and biology. And through that research, I definitely knew that I wanted to do something regarding just chemistry, not necessarily specifically chemistry, but I think that was a that was a very important experience for me that got me to the point where I am today, where I am pursuing something in molecular biology, which is kind of between biology and chemistry.
I had a similar experience. I came to Oberlin not thinking I was going to study anything related to STEM. I originally applied to be part of the conservatory. I ended up deferring for a year and then came in thinking I wanted to study anthropology. So my first couple of semesters, I took a lot of humanities courses, and I ended up taking a cognitive studies class, and it was sort of a fluke that I stumbled across neuroscience because there was a small unit in that cognitive studies class about neuroscience. But before that time, I had taken a number of courses in other departments. And since declaring my major, I've also taken a number of courses in other departments. And like I said, I also have an English degree. And so there's a lot of opportunity to be flexible. And in terms of declaring a major, I think it's not until the end of your sophomore year that you technically have to declare. And still you can change your major up until your second semester senior year. So it's very flexible, and people really do make it work. I mean, we have people who are double, triple majoring in completely unrelated things, which is a lot, but the professors really work with you, and there's definitely the space to pursue a wide range of different classes at any point throughout your career, any 4 years. Or 5, I guess. People stay longer.
Great. So again, a question for whoever would like to respond. I'd really love to just hear about the process for getting involved with research at Oberlin. You know, we get this question a lot. Students want to know about how accessible it is, if they can really start their first year or their second year, how typical is that? So maybe what was your path? What was the process? And what do you think is typical for students here? Go ahead, Gabi.
Okay, all right. Well, I started my second year-ish, I guess, with the Office of Undergraduate Research. Like, they have the the Undergraduate Research Fellowship, which guarantees 2 summers worth of funded research on campus. And I really wanted to get into AI and machine learning, the good stuff, right? But I'd never taken a class with my current advisor. So like, I basically just approached him. It was like, I'm interested in doing this. I don't know anything about this. Would you be willing to take me on? And then he was like, well, I have a couple ideas. Why don't you read a couple papers? Let's set up a meeting, draft a project proposal on some of your ideas, what you might have, and we'll see from there. And then the rest is history. I ended up doing 3 different research projects with him. And I ended up doing an honors with him as well. So it was like, the whole process of getting into research for me was like, it felt so, even though it was like a big deal for me approaching a professor like I'd never taken a class with, it was so, in hindsight, it was the easiest process ever. Like, I felt comfortable throughout, and like it's honestly great.
I started doing research. I got involved through actually my introductory neuroscience class. And so, as I think we talked about with those classes, even though there's like 80 people, the labs are really small. So there's like 12 of you and 1 professor, and Professor Kwache was teaching my section. And so I really got to know her and felt very comfortable going to her, because it can be somewhat intimidating to talk to professors, especially in your first year. And I went to her office hours, and I basically started asking her about her research. She was presenting on, or like she was teaching us about like sensory systems. I thought it was really cool. I did not enter Oberlin thinking I was going to do anything with sensory neuroscience. But I just found that I really enjoyed working with her, like talking to her just about really anything. And then also that the research was fascinating. So that summer I started with her, like after my first year, and, I'm still here. I'm still in the lab. So that's my sort of getting involved with research experience.
Yeah. I would say that people do start at any point in their time at Oberlin. We have people who start as first years. We also have people who start as seniors, and that's totally fine. And the really nice thing is that the lab communities are so close knit that. And also that the professors really encourage students to develop an independent interest and project, and we have the ability to sort of take a project from its infancy to come up with a project and see it all the way through to completion, and do everything in between, the experimental design, collecting data, statistical analysis, creating a poster, writing a paper, presenting at conferences, and really have autonomy over that entire process. Whether you start in your first year, you might get a bit further in that versus starting as a senior, but we do have people who start doing research in their senior year as an honor student, and are able to do that entire process. And so there are a lot of options, and I think it's really neat that that students are able to have so much independence over their research and access to, all of the technologies and techniques that Oberlin has to offer. And there's not sort of a, go through the PI intermediate type thing. The students are really hands-on doing every element of the research, which is great.
It was kind of my experience, at least getting into research at Oberlin, was kind of interesting because the professor asked me to join her lab. So it's usually the other way around, where the student asks the professor. But I was just kind of talking to the professor because I had taken classes with her, and so I had established a relationship. And I just happened to talk to her, saying I was just kind of looking around for labs and telling her what I'm kind of interested in. And at that moment, she's like, "Well, I'd be happy to have you in my lab." So there really isn't a single process that, like, there's all these steps that you have to take. No, it could really just be spontaneous in that moment. And I think the key thing is to be persistent, because you may not necessarily get the opportunity on your first try. They may say, well, maybe take a few classes or maybe gain a little bit more experience. But if you're persistent, if you show interest, you're going to get it. It's really easy to start research here at Oberlin. You may not get it maybe your first year or your second year, but if you show that you're interested, if you show that you want to do research, then that professor is going to happily give you that position. Or if they are not going to, they're say, I would love to have you, but I don't have space. At least they know you want to be in their lab, and when space opens up, they'll reach out to you.
Great. So this got touched on a little bit, but I'm curious if anybody else wants to share about their research supervisor and the relationship that they have with them, and just sort of what that's like, both, professionally, but maybe even on a personal level as well.
Yeah, I can start with this one. So I work with Dr. Roger Loshman. I met him my sophomore year. I just walked into his office and was like, hi, I would love to do research. I love plants. And he was like, all right, let's do this. And that was a start, I think, of a beautiful relationship. Pretty much any hour, I can email him and he's going to respond to me right away. We have weekly meetings alone. We have weekly meetings with our larger group, who do include recent alumni. So not only am I talking to current students, I'm talking to his past students, which lets me have a really good perspective of what's to come. He walked me through the graduate school application process. He was right by my side the whole time, giving me support. I always knew I could rely on him for letters of recommendation. He's been at so many of my track meets, so many of my soccer games. In fact, I would walk into lab and he'd be like, listen, you played great. Your time was amazing. So we do have this relationship at this point, and he's always there to encourage me. He trusts me. I trust him. And I just can't be more grateful to have him as my mentor. And I think it's not just going to be at my time at Oberlin, but I see myself going back to him for maybe my whole career, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, I can say a little bit about that, the personal connection too. I mean, let's face it, like throughout your time in Oberlin, like there is going to be time where like you like issues crop up in your personal life and you can't focus as much on your research. So my relationship with my advisor like is developed in a way that it was just more than just like mentoring academically, but he was mentoring me like in terms of my mental headspace, like my situations back home and all of that stuff. Like in weeks where I was not able to completely focus on research, he gave me like he literally told me you can take a break, it's okay to take a break. And I think like having that sort of advice coming from someone in that part, in that dynamic where he's the advisor, really puts you at ease and makes you feel like you're in good hands. It's not like they're trying to get work out of you, it's like they're mentoring you to be a good researcher while taking care of yourself. So I just wanted to add that a little bit, and I feel like that's true for everybody here as well.
Yeah, my relationship with my advisor, I really appreciate it. I'm really grateful because she is always like, she always makes time for me. If I tell her I need time to talk about anything, she'll give me that time. And I mean, I can reach her at any point and I know that she'll get back to me. I sometimes I've emailed her late at night and then within the hour she responds. And so I think you kind of feel that you kind of develop that connection with your professor, that they're not just someone else in the lab, but they're someone whom you collaborate with, or someone who you work with. I really do feel that I am working alongside my PI and not working for her, because a lot of times she uses like things that I do, like data that I do, that I get, or experience that I do. She kind of gets from that, and then I kind of get data from things that she does. So we're working on things together. We're not be working on the same thing at the same time, but they're both reaching the same goal. So and that's pretty much the same with if there are any, because if there are any other members in the lab, we are all working together, the PI included.
So the students who are going to be first years in college next year are just kind of wanting advice from you all about sort of what to take together, how much to take, sort of what should you take bio and chem at the same time, for example, in your first year? Is that good advice? You know, what do you tell first year students when you're giving them advice nowadays?
So I started my first semester, I think, taking only one like official like STEM class that was Bio 100. I definitely recommend taking just like one, like starting off, like you will get through the whole major if you don't take a ton. And I think it's a bit of a learning curve initially, because it's like you weren't, it's not the same as like your high school classes, even like your AP classes. And then I coupled that with an introductory psych course. And then I took a philosophy course, as well as a like first year seminar. And then I think after that sort of like initial like semester where you're getting your like bearings, you're sort of understanding it, you're developing your own study habits, then taking, like 2 STEM courses is definitely very feasible, but take it slow. Like enjoy the fact that you have a liberal arts education and things like that. So that's sort of my advice to give.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead. I was just going to chime in a little bit, saying that I haven't taken more than 2 STEM courses at a time my entire time, and I've completed both CS and math. So like.
Yeah. I started the neuro major kind of late. I hadn't taken any STEM classes for my first 3 semesters. So I started in my 4th semester and have gotten through, well, I'm now just taking electives in the neuroscience department, but I got through the whole major in 4 semesters, and I was taking 2 or 3 classes each semester that were related to the major, which is doable. I mean, students really there are a lot of support networks to talk to other students and talk to the professors directly and figure out what will and will not work. Before registering for classes, I met with some of the professors teaching those classes and asked them directly, do you think that I could manage taking these two classes at the same time? And got a lot of advice from other students, from faculty members, from my mentors at Oberlin. And so I think that it is good probably to get started earlier, but it's also doable if you don't. And there's plenty of flexibility either at the beginning and then, getting through your STEM courses on the backside, or having a balance throughout. Or I do have some friends who are STEM majors and got through all of their STEM requirements in the first, 5 or 6 semesters, and then their last year are able to just take electives. So it's definitely a personal preference, but I would reiterate what Tori said, which is that it is a different experience, and a lot of to high school, and a lot of taking the STEM classes is not only learning the information, but also learning how to study and learning time management skills and things like that. And so I guess pace yourself and be kind to yourself, because it can get overwhelming. And I think Oberlin students tend to be a little bit overcommitted. So but there's an amazing support system, and there's so many safety nets in place. If you are struggling with the class, there's so many resources, both to sort of supplement learning instruction and also to supplement community and mental health services and things like that. So you'll really feel supported throughout, and can directly go to your professor if you're struggling with things, and they really work with you to make sure that you're getting the most out of the material, and also staying as sane as possible in the process.
Also, really quickly, you will be assigned, once you declare your major, you will have an advisor within that major. So if you declare a bio major, you're going to have a bio advisor, and that can be your point person whenever you declare that. So that person's going to let you know if you are on track, what you need to take. They're definitely going to spend time with you to map out your semesters. So it's not like you have to do this alone, especially for me. I know I had some help from some upperclassmen saying, oh, take this with this person, or like, oh, take those together. So you're not only going to have like official support systems, but you're going to have other people to help guide you too.
So Rochelle, you're the pre-med person here, right?
Tori is officially pre-med, and
my mistake. Tori, I knew it was a neuroscience major. We had a couple questions about pre-med, just wondering what the community is like among those doing pre-med and the advising and program in general.
Yeah, so that's the community is amazing, I would say, for pre-med. That's one of the things that I love about Oberlin, is that it's not like this competition of like, I'm going to beat you out on this like one exam. It's like we are learning together, and you basically have it set up so you end up taking, like your introductory chem, your introductory bio, and your like 200 level classes all at the same time. So you just sort of move through the classes as a group, forming bonds, studying together in the Science Center, which you saw the video about. I've spent so many hours there with friends, studying for like different exams, learning the material, things like that. And there is very excellent advising here. So Maureen Peters, who's actually my bio advisor, she is the current pre-med advisor, and she's going to talk to you about like, okay, here's the plan that you need. Here's what you need to do in order to make sure you get through all those requirements, plus the additional requirements for your major. And I think she's really great. Other people I've talked to think she's really great. And so there's definitely this very like supportive community, and they want to make sure that you're also on the same track. And even professors who aren't directly related to pre-med, they still know what the requirements there. So like even like Professor Kwache, she's not necessarily like a pre-med oriented person, but she can tell me if I'm on the right track, what I need to do. And things like that. And there's also like a lot of like seminars too. We recently had one where we got to talk to like recent alumni who were taking a gap year, or we get to talk to, people who are, actually doctors, and like the opportunities that they provide. So there's just like a multi-dimensional support from your peers to even people outside of Oberlin.
Great. So we had a couple specific questions. I don't know if you all know the answers, but I'm going to try it out. One question was about whether we know if there are courses available in bacteriology, virology, and infectious disease, as well as research opportunities in those areas.
I don't know if there are. Yeah, I'm pretty sure there are. I would definitely talk to Laura Romberg, just because she does do microbiology, and her research is in microbiology. I'm not too familiar with her research, and I'm also not too familiar with the classes that she teaches. But I do know that she would definitely be the person to talk to regarding these things, and she would be happy to talk to anyone about it.
Yeah, I'm in her pathogen host interactions class right now. So it's not like it is focusing on the pathogen host interactions. It's not specifically infectious disease, but it's a lot of independent work and sort of like figuring out how you want to go about it. So there is that. There's also, I think, like 2 immunology classes, which again, not quite the like specifically what you asked, but they do touch on those topics. And there are opportunities to study it.
And what do we know about Alzheimer's disease research within the past few years at Oberlin?
Sure. So in the neuroscience department, we have 2 professors who study neurodegeneration. We have Professor Mariani and Professor Gunnar Kwache. I think Professor Mariani more specifically looks at Alzheimer's, and Professor Gunnar Kwache looks at Huntington's and Parkinson's disease. But they both have classes that they teach, a neurotoxicology and neurodegeneration class and a neuroimmunology class. And people do independent research with them. They teach senior seminars that delve into those topics specifically. People do honors projects in those fields as well. So from the neuroscience perspective, there are 2 wonderful professors who specifically study neurodegeneration.
Great. I also just wanted to kind of ask all of you to look back at your high school self. And when you were looking at colleges, I know not all of you knew you wanted to do STEM, but for those of you maybe who were thinking you wanted to do STEM, maybe why did you choose to attend a liberal arts college, B, an undergraduate school, and C, specifically Oberlin, to pursue science?
Sure. So I applied to a lot of kind of similar schools, on paper at least, a lot of small liberal arts colleges that were specifically undergrad. And so there were a lot of similarities on that front and in terms of course offerings. But the thing that really drew me to Oberlin is that when I visited those schools, they were all sort of equally competitive to get into, but the students at Oberlin are uniquely not competitive with each other at all. It was remarkable. I think it was an all roads weekend that I was here, and I attended some open mic performances, and the students were so supportive of everyone else who performed, no matter what stage of their performance they were in, or their artistic development they were in. The students were just there for each other and really supportive, and there wasn't this sense of competition amongst the students. And at other sort of comparable liberal arts schools that I visited, there was sort of this more cutthroat attitude that students had, and it was so relieving to be around people who didn't have that approach to things, especially in science. Science can be very competitive and very cutthroat. And so I just really appreciated how sort of the collaboration and the sense of community and the lack of competition between students. So it just felt like a really sort of safe, nurturing place. And that's definitely been my experience here with the students and with the faculty members as well, that everyone feels like they succeed when everyone is succeeding, and people are just really invested in each other's journeys. And it's just great. It's a really supportive environment.
I think one thing that made me feel, so I had decided to apply to Oberlin ED. I knew that I liked the community and the like sort of like the ideals of the school, but I was definitely very nervous about pursuing STEM. Science was not my best like area in high school. I knew I wanted to go into it. I knew I wanted to be a doctor, but I just hadn't developed the skills yet to really master the material. And during All Roads, I sat in on a lecture, and within that one lecture, the professor made me feel even more confident than I had my entire 4 years in high school. And I think it sort of speaks to like what Rochelle was talking about that support that, you know, the professors provide you. But even literally, it was like a class of like 50 people, like it's introductory chemistry. And I still felt like that professor was trying to engage me and engage every student in there to make the material as accessible as possible and not try and make it seem like this weird, scary thing that it's not, but everyone seems to think that it is. And, you know, from like my first year too, like I wasn't going to go into biology. I did not do well in biology in high school, but I felt supported by the professor. He taught me that I could learn it. I could succeed in it. And so I felt fine pursuing like an additional degree in biology and also minoring in chemistry. And so, yeah, that's really what made me feel confident about my decision to pursue STEM at Oberlin.
I had no intention whatsoever of pursuing anything remotely STEM related. I didn't think I was a science person. I didn't think I could ever be a science person. And so I came in really thinking that I just, I would never cut it. I'm so pleased with not only how sort of my technical skills in the science field have grown, but also just my confidence and sense of belonging in the science community, and just, you know, the self-assuredness that I do have something to contribute. And I think that the way that Oberlin is structured just really fostered that sense of belonging, and I'm really grateful for that.
One of the reasons that I chose Oberlin was because there was no graduate school here. So I cannot stress to you enough how much access you have to every single one of your professors. They are going to hold at least 2, if not 3 hours of office hours where you can go to them, talk to them about the class, talk to them about your interests, talk to them about their interests, or talk to them about life. I just absolutely adore the entire biology department. They have mentored me in so many ways, and I think that relationship would have looked a lot different if I had a different kind of hierarchy going on in the lab. So if I did have postdocs, if I did have master's students, but instead it was just me and my professors, and we did become, as we said before, this kind of colleague. Also, college is hard in general, and STEM is hard in college. So I think being able to go to philosophy classes in the morning, or being able to go to English classes and talk about monster books, and then going to my STEM labs in the afternoon, it gave me like a mental break that was really needed. So I feel really well-rounded. You know, writing in science is very, very essential. So if you are able to get your data, if you aren't able to tell other people what that means, there's going to be a lack of information there. So Oberlin is going to help you not only be good technically, but also be a good writer and a good scientific writer, which is essential.
All right, well, I think that will conclude the webinar because it's a little bit after 8:30 now in Eastern time. So I just really want to thank all of our panelists so much for spending the past hour or so with us. That was amazing. Thank you all so much for your time. I hope this was helpful for the audience. We do have a few more webinars this week and into next week. I know tomorrow night there's one about study away and foreign language study at Oberlin. And then on Thursday night, we're having our housing and dining webinar. So those will be really helpful to attend if you're interested. Please let us know if you have any follow-up questions. You can email the admissions office anytime. I can ask Josh to just quickly post that email one last time for you. And you can find all of our events and everything on our virtual experience website for admitted students. But thank you all again for for your time, and we wish everyone a good night and good rest of your college search process for the final 2 weeks. Take care, everyone.